Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So today we're gonna have a bit different kind of video. Well, it's no secret that this is a quite dry month when it comes to Marvel Coins of Champions. There really hasn't been a lot of happening, and as always you feel that especially hard once end of the month is well, honing in, because many people have finished their Cavalier runs. Went Quest is kind of like once a week affair for most part, and not to mention the fact that it has been quite repetitive and definitely not the most exciting thing. So overall, compared to crazy and fun and interesting month we have had prior to January, and also February seemingly is going to be extremely exciting, I decided that this could be a good opportunity to give some feedback. And the way we are going to do this is going to be quite simple. We're going to be talking about variants in this video. And if there is one thing that people across all spectrums of MCOC can typically agree on, that variant content is universally admitted and most beloved by all types of people. Higher end tier players love variants because they are quick, easy, simple piece of content with a relatively good amount of rewards, and well, quite frankly, they are interesting and rewarding. People who are progressing throughout the quests definitely love variants even more so because of the generous reward structure and many rank up gems that you can attain from doing them. And that is one of the best places where to beef up your roster at a point where you have become, let's say, Cavalier. Maybe well, you're not quite ready to start exploring Act 6 or 7. And variant is perfect for you to go in, do relatively difficult piece of content, but get generously rewarded and be able to bulk up your account. So yeah, pretty much anyone who jumps in variant content always more or less enjoys it. I think if we look at that way on the variant one, Ultron's Assault, that is arguably the least liked, the least loved. I personally actually enjoy it a lot, and I do like it for what challenges it possesses. I also think that if it would get released today, we would get significantly less complaints, and Ultron's Assault would get significantly less bad PR. It's just that when it came out, most of us, none of us had like the stacked accounts and rosters that we do have now. And I have had a revisit of Ultron's Assault in 2019, in about March time, I believe. And I did it itemless. It wasn't too bad. I actually enjoyed it a lot. So that is that. But ultimately, everybody loves loving the variants. Everybody enjoys, and for a good reason, because they're a great piece of content. They do have some shortcomings, like pretty much every single one of them. But today's video would be more so like a question or starting of a discussion. Which one is your favorite variant and why? So each and every single one of them have their issues. And I'm going to do something that not many people do. I'm going to give a bit of critique on variants on purpose, even though I ultimately love variant content. And obviously I'll quickly give the biggest kind of like points that I enjoy about them. And I'll encourage you to do the same and tell me why you like which variant the most, and yeah, which one it is. So we're going to start in the order as they got released. Quickly, before I jump any further, this is not meant to be determining factor of which one you should do first, because ultimately it always depends on your roster. And when it comes to rewards for your effort, the variants 5 and 6 are absolutely miles ahead anything else, because they have the revamped rewards. And yeah, 5 and 6 are definitely the ones you want to kind of like jump in as quickly as possible, because they have by far the best rewards. But if we put rewards aside, if you put the length aside, because obviously first two variants are significantly longer than the last four, you put all of that aside, which one do you enjoy the most? Which one do you like the most? Well, so we're gonna start with the Ultron's Assault. So Ultron's Assault obviously is pretty much the hardest one. And the biggest point of criticism I have for Ultron's Assault is because it made large subclasses of champions completely borderline useless. Because chapter 1, was significantly easier than Chapter 2 and 3, therefore mutant and skill champions really didn't matter. If they wanted to do it the way that they did, they should have made, in my opinion, every single chapter as easy or hard as the next one, so each class would have the same opportunities to shine. Because when we're talking about being able to clear variant 2, we're really only talking about tech and mystic class and science and cosmic class. Skill and mutant really doesn't matter for variant 1 at all. In addition to that, every single global in chapter 3 basically just destroys all cosmic champions, because we have Spite, we have Fisticuffs, and we have Pilfer Regeneration, and all of them universally punish you for having buffs. Now, whilst science champions are not known for having buffs, cosmic champions are, and pretty much all of the cosmic champions are incredibly hindered in chapter 3 of variant 1, versus science champions are quite unopposed. Therefore, science champions end up doing vast amount of heavy lifting in that piece of content. So yeah, I don't think it was the most balanced, and again, it put so much more emphasis on like mystic and tech and science class, and then cosmic class is important, but most of the cosmic champions are borderline unusable in many of the quests. And then we have skill and mutant, which, well, quite frankly didn't matter because the first quest was so much easier than the rest of it. Now, moving on to Mystery in the Micro Realms, I actually don't have too much bad to say about it. Having 4 yellow jacket bosses is definitely way overkill, especially now when Yellow Jacket is due to get a buff. And if you haven't done variant 2 up until now, well, then you definitely are encouraged to do it within the next week or so, because it is gonna get significantly harder. When it comes to the champion limitation, the path themselves, I found pretty much all of it to be quite enjoyable, and I did like it a lot. The bigger, obviously, annoyances there were, well, quite honestly, the yellow jacket bosses and the fact that they are main bosses for 4 quests. That's far too many. It just got so old so quick. And then you put yellow jacket with like encroaching stun, which I didn't like at all either. But when it comes to champion restrictions, I think it's one of the more beautifully designed pieces of content, whereas you get clear benefit from bringing in extra large champions, but you can still bring in many other champions, and you're not kind of like strictly excluded from being able to use champions for synergies or use part of champion ability kits, like Archangel, for instance, can still be used even though it's extra large champions. And I like that kind of mechanic. It felt really great. It felt refreshing, especially compared to variant 1. And I think variant 2 was kind of like the birth of real community widespread love for variant piece of content. Now, variant 3 is alright. It's just about alright. It's not exactly about the nodes, about anything else. It's just you feel significantly punished unless you're using tech champion. And unfortunately, tech isn't quite the most stacked class. Yes, now we're getting more decently good tech champions. But overall, tech really has only barely a handful of really good champions that you want to use everywhere. And then having that 50% attack reduction just felt overkill punishment. You can understand like 25% attack reduced, or I don't know, or rather than punishing for not using tech champion, letting it use just give bonus for using a tech champion. But all in all, it was just kind of like run of the mill. It's mediocre, I would say. It's not my favorite, it's not my least favorite, it's not long. Rewards are decent, it was relatively fun. Several boss fights were interesting. It's just the fact that it was kind of like Sentinel, Ghost, and that's about it. Since then, obviously, we have had Hulkbuster buff, we have Guillotine 2099, we have Warlock, but still, ultimately, vast majority of this variant specifically gets done by like 5 champions, and that in itself, to me, means that it hasn't been designed well. And also, lastly, when you want to bring in specific counters, you kind of feel punished because those fights were always long and dreary due to that 50% attack penalty. when you had to specifically counter, let's say, a Mephisto or something. And by doing so, those fights were really, really annoying, so I didn't enjoy that. And again, Waning Moon variant, obviously, arguably the most perfect variant in the sense that there were no big roadblocks, and you got to utilize your entire account, your entire roster. I really, really liked a lot of things about variant 4. Ultimately, though, I also think that it kind of failed towards that. Most interesting parts about variant 4 were quite simply the first two chapters, where you got to use your 5 and 6 stars, 5 stars, 4 stars, and 3 stars, because those are commonly available champions. They have a ton of abilities, so you're able to tackle many different lanes. But chapter 3 variant 4 really gets tedious. I'm not even going to mention or talk too much about the 1-star Hulk fiasco, which still Kabam hasn't properly rectified, which is just stupid at this point. And yeah, it just ruins a great piece of content for many players. But I think when it comes to this specific final quest, we don't have champions. Like, it wasn't fun to use 1-star champions because they have no abilities. And the way they made the nodes, I don't know. I just think that chapter 3 ultimately fails variant 4 very, very badly, because with 2 stars it's still kind of like fair enough. They're not commonly available, but we still have fair bunch, and then we have the options to get those exclusive 2 stars, so on and so forth. Especially the final quest, where we only have like 12, 13 1 stars, and they hardly have any abilities. There are no synergies, and the fights are boring. The fights are tedious. So yeah, I don't think maybe that 1 star should have been involved. Maybe the final 2 quests should have been 2 stars or something else, or at least the node should have been way more fun, way more interesting. And yeah, so I think ultimately that is what failed variant 4 to be by ultimate the best variant. Now I'm going to talk about variant 5, which I think is my favorite, because it takes problems from other piece of content and kind of sorts them out. For instance, this champion selection here is better because not only it's a single class, Mystic in this case, compared to variant 2, where it was only, variant 3, where it was only tech champions. But in addition, we get to use Spider-Verse and Symbiote, so it adds a significant subgroup to play with. So we have significantly more champions allowed in here. And in addition to that, any champion that is allowed in this variant either got buffed or remained exactly the same as they are. Like in variant, in tech variant, you could technically bring in any single champion, right? But you lost 50% of your attack, and the fights were tedious. In this variant, if you could bring in a champion, you either got rewarded, but you never got hindered. Even though, let's say, chapter 2 is meant for Mystic champions, and all the buffs are exclusive for Mystic champions. But at the same time, you can just bring in Venom, and Venom will do whatever Venom does, and you're not going to have any attack penalties or any hindrances. Other than that, there were definitely a fair few of cheesy interactions, quite many interesting fights. They did quite good job beefing up Venom, Carnage, many other Mystic champions. And yeah, I think variant 5, for me personally, is the favorite one. I liked many different things about it, and most importantly, yeah, it was still selective, but there was no sense of being punished if you're not doing exactly what you kind of meant to do. For instance, you could use your 5-star Doom in chapter 1 and chapter 3, no problem. And chapter 2, he got buffed. And now it's variant 6. And variant 6, there are 2 problems that I have with variant 6. Problem number 1 is that every single quest got all of the global nodes. I think what they should have done, with the 3 globals that they had, split it in between chapters. So this first one, where attackers increase their attack by 100% but take 5% of their max health as direct damage every second. This damage cannot be prevented, blah blah blah. it would kind of be cool, right? If you could still heal somehow or survive that, because then you'd have like a interesting interaction or option to bring in your hero champions if need must. And then the next quest, maybe heroes can't gain any power or mercenaries. But there are still champions that you can use with no power, and it would also create that interesting dynamic that we had in Variant 2, where you meant to bring in extra large champions, but you can still use other champions, just gimped a bit. So in this case, villain attackers, all non-hashtag villain attackers are unable to gain power. Fine, bring in, let's say, Archangel. He doesn't need it, he can still use it. Or bring in Captain America Infinity War. And same point applies to that all hashtag non-villain hackers are unable to heal through any means, which is fair enough, but you could still kind of use them. Just make sure that nodes really want to make you heal, kind of. So yeah, I don't think they should have put all 3 of these globals in every single quest. I think they should have put 1 or 2, and that would still kind of enable you bring in and use the non-villain champions, basically. But at least we were able to use non-villains for synergies. That's cool. And the second universal, I guess, complaint, nitpick with Variant 6 would be the simple fact that it felt either extremely cheesy or quite annoying. There wasn't that super rewarding sense. Either you kept feeling filthy for having an absolutely broken interaction where a 2-star Rhino can solo fight, or the fights were just relatively annoying and nodes didn't matter. When it comes to the node design, there were some cool things, but ultimately, like Variant 7 blows Variant, Act 7 blows Variant 6 out of the water. Because yeah, there was no happy middle ground where if you did everything right, you kind of like benefited a lot. What I mean by that is that some of the global nodes, like that weakness one, where you gain extra damage if you hit opponent's block, it means absolutely nothing. And there were a couple more like that. And then in its entirety, there was a bunch of paths in many quests where you just ignore the nodes and you just brought in whatever better champions you have. So I don't think that is a good design. So ultimately, I think that Variant 6 kind of declined in the quote-unquote fun department when you were not cheesing something with like a 2-star Rhino or 2-star Magneto. But when it came to actual fighting, it just didn't deliver as much. Ultimately, again, I absolutely love every single variant. I think they are, as a group of content, by far the best piece of content. And as I said before, my favorite variant probably is Variant 5. Second favorite, I guess I'd say Mystery in the Micro Realms. Third favorite would either be Blood and Venom or Ultron's Assault. The villain one would probably be 5th. And the least one maybe is the Polar Opposites. I really didn't enjoy that one too much. It wasn't bad, just wasn't as fun as the others, I think. Either way, once again, let me know how would you rank the variants. But that is it for today, and I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information